and welcome to MEE Live. I'm Matilda Mallinson. It's Thursday, the 11th of June, 2026. Today, a deep dive on Belfast and a spotlight on the West Bank. But first, is the war in Iran back on? This morning, Trump posted that the US will hit Iran very hard tonight, all caps. The US president threatened to seize total control of Iran's oil and gas industries, including, once again, the strategically placed Kurg Island. It comes during a second consecutive day of airstrikes on Iran, which Iran's foreign ministry said has effectively rendered the ceasefire meaningless. Iran announced it was reimposing a full closure of the Strait of Hormuz. It comes as the European Central Bank raised interest rates, citing inflation driven by the war. Iran also retaliated by striking Bahrain, Kuwait and Jordan. US War Secretary Pete Hegseth said the US struck Iran due to slow progress in peace talks, but their attacks were preceded by Iran shooting down a highly sophisticated US military helicopter, as Trump described it at the time. I'm joined now by Senior Fellow at the Centre for International Policy, Sinha Tusi. Sinha, how do we make sense of this spiralling sequence of events? Is someone driving it escalated out of control? Sinha, hi, can you hear me? I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I can't hear you.
I can hear you. You can hear me.
Yes, but you sound like you're speaking to me from another dimension. Can we get a clear line on Sinha's audio, or shall we have him rejoin in a second?
Hi, is that better?
Unfortunately not. Sinha, that was Sinha Tusi. Hopefully we can get him back on shortly. But in the meantime, we will move on to today's deep dive.
Deep sense of disappointment and sadness. I'm also feeling that element of fear and distrust and lack of confidence. I've spoken to young people who are afraid to travel to school or sit their exams. I've spoken to families who are reluctant to leave their homes. The overwhelming majority of people affected by these events are ordinary families.
This Belfast local spoke to MEE on the condition of anonymity, fearing attack. And it's easy to see why. Roadblocks, arson, families driven from their homes, 27 people made homeless by masked mobs hunting people of colour with clear, violent intent. This is Belfast today. Riots broke out after a public stabbing in North Belfast in Monday, for which a Sudanese man with refugee status has been charged with attempted murder. Despite calls from the victim's family who said, "We do not want this terrible tragedy to be used to divide people or fuel hostility." Despite there being zero statistical evidence linking migration and crime in Northern Ireland, and despite clear statistical evidence showing record levels of race-based hate crimes in the region, the news media joined political pundits driving round-the-clock debate about immigration on the basis of one man's attack. The consequences are being lived by locals to the area, one of whom joins me now. Maureen Hamblin, welcome to MEE Live. How have you been feeling since the riots began? Has it made any difference to how you go about your day?
Really bad.
Oh no, it seems like we're having the same issue with Maureen's connection. That implies it is a problem on our end, which is going to be a problem for today's live stream. Stay with us. We will be back shortly once we have sorted out our technical difficulties. Thank you. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us through our technical difficulties. We will now resume our coverage of Belfast. Nope, wrong thing.
I feel a deep sense of disappointment and sadness. I'm also feeling that element of fear and distrust and lack of confidence. I've spoken to young people who are afraid to travel to school or sit their exams. I've spoken to families who are reluctant to leave their homes. The overwhelming majority of people affected by these events are ordinary families.
This Belfast local spoke to MEE on the condition of anonymity, fearing attack, and it's easy to see why. Roadblocks, arson, families driven from their homes, 27 people made homeless by masked mobs hunting people of colour with clear, violent intent. This is Belfast today. Riots broke out after a public stabbing in North Belfast on Monday, for which a Sudanese man with refugee status has been charged with attempted murder. Despite calls from the victim's family, who said, "We do not want this terrible tragedy to be used to divide people or fuel hostility," despite there being zero statistical evidence linking migration and crime in Northern Ireland, and despite clear statistical evidence showing record levels of race-based hate crimes in the region, the news media joined political pundits driving round-the-clock debate about immigration on the basis of one man's attack. The consequences are being lived by locals in the area, one of whom joins me now. Maureen Hamblin, welcome to MEE Live. Thank you for joining me. How have you been feeling since the riots began? Has it made a difference to how you've been going about your day?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm more careful where I go. I'm very careful of, opening my blinds. I'm careful of even going to the shops. And this is not the first riot. This is the third year in a row. And I remember the first year that this happened, we didn't leave the house, and we literally just ate whatever we had for days and days. And my kids, who are biracial, said to me, "Mommy, do you think we should go to our dad's house so that we'll be safe because he's white?" So even my kids, who at the time were probably around 8, 6, and 3.5, understand what this means. It's really sad. And this time I didn't even bring it up with them because I don't want them to carry that weight from such a young age all the time. So I've cried in the shower. I've been really angry, and I feel disillusioned. I feel hopeless. I feel lost, and I feel, as the video that you just played, I feel a lack of trust in the system and in the Northern Irish government.
I'm so sorry, Maureen. That is a huge amount to carry, and I really cannot imagine how you must be feeling. But something that does strike me is that so much of the far-right anti-migrant dialogue claims to be about protecting women, right? And when I look at these scenes of masked, armed men patrolling the streets, as a woman, I feel pretty terrified. So combine this with police data that shows more than 1 in 5 people arrested during the 2024 riots were reported for domestic abuse. I wonder, as a woman, what is your message to the politicians encouraging this pure cold rage?
Well, as you might know, Northern Ireland is one of the unsafest places in Europe for women. It's at the same level as Hungary, who have, I think, 10 times more population. So we have about a population of 1.9, and our femicide rates are the same exact as theirs. So there's no way these men are protecting us. Well, not me, because I don't fall into the category of women that they protect, but there's no way they're protecting white women because they kill their women. They're the ones, they have high rates of pedophilia and child abuse and domestic violence. So there's no way they're protecting their women. This is projection. This is marking their territory. This is saying only we can harm white women and not black men. And if you look at the statistics, it is them. It is them killing their own women, and they're just projecting that hatred and claiming to kind of own the women, so they're not protecting women and children. And white women should be scared, and they should understand what patriarchy does to all women around the globe. I'm from a country that also has a high femicide rate, so I get it. Women are not safe anywhere in this world, but white men using this as an excuse to drive us out of our homes is disgusting and should not be allowed.
Is this a crisis of immigration?
No, absolutely not. Northern Ireland has the lowest immigration rate in the UK and across Europe. Our numbers are very low. Majority of the people here are on work visas, and those families, if you have a family of 5 people, they contribute around 98,000 every 5 years in visa fees and in taxes, and that's excluding their petrol, their rent, and everything else that they contribute to the economy. They also pay an NHS surcharge that other people do not have to pay. So it is not an immigration crisis. The numbers of refugees and asylum seekers are so low, you couldn't even, I think a quarter of the SSE arena here, you couldn't even fill up a quarter of that arena with asylum seekers. So it is not a problem with immigration.
Maureen, I can hear the emotion in your voice, but you are also something of a community leader, particularly for ethnic minorities in the local area. What would you want to say to members of your community who feel afraid?
I feel the same fear, and I am sad as well. And I want you to know that you're not alone. There are communities here, like Axoni, Women of Colour Belfast, Anaka Women Collective, who can offer support, and many, many others. If you do need to reach out to somebody for support, reach out to me, reach out to any of those organizations. And I want you to know that you are a positive contribution to contributor to this society. Don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise. And I want you to know that your melanin, because literally that's all there is, extra melanin and curly hair, does not make you violent. We're not more inherently violent than white people are. Humanity has a problem with violence. We're not the only problem. And I want you to stand firm in who you are, remember who you are. Before the world called you violent, before the world called you ugly, you were so much more than that. And you need to stand in that truth and hide in that truth in these times, and stick with community and close allies and people who are safe for you.
And what would you want to say to members of your community who are involved in the violence?
I wrote an article of this. I think it frustrates me that when Black and brown men participate in acts of violence, or even things that might seem violent but might not be, and it comes from a place of privilege as men. And there was a group a few weeks ago, not even 2 weeks ago, of brown men carrying swords at Hayes Park, and that meant that it agitated the community. Now, I hate the idea that we have to be twice as good and twice as polite. However, if you know that the act that you're committing is going to put hundreds and thousands of people at risk, I need you to think about your actions. Don't walk around with swords, whether symbolic, whether religious. It puts women and children at danger. Black and brown women are more likely to experience public racism, especially when they're pregnant, wearing a hijabi, or walking around with children. So when men especially commit these acts of violence, they're putting us all in danger. And also, you need to be a citizen of the earth and go to therapy, learn how to control your emotions so that when somebody pokes and prods at you or whatever the situation was, I don't know what happened between the two men, that you're able to walk away and not take a knife and hurt somebody else.
Maureen Hamblin, thank you so much for joining me. Now today, the FIFA World Cup kicks off with Mexico playing South Africa in Mexico City. On Tuesday's show at MEE Live, we covered chaos at US arrivals as the World Cup collided with Donald Trump's travel ban. You can watch the full segment on YouTube. Fears persist over the involvement of immigration and customs enforcement agents in security efforts in the Games. MEE's Shraddha Joshi has been in New Jersey, where the final will be held, asking the city how they feel about ICE's presence.
I feel like it defeats the whole purpose of FIFA World Cup. FIFA is for everybody, so I don't understand why people are being discriminated.
The FIFA World Cup is here. Fans from all over the world are flying into the US, with over 1.2 million visitors expected in the New York, New Jersey area. At a time when the US is cracking down on immigration, how will it handle an influx of non-citizens? Todd Lyons, the director of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, has announced that the agency will play a key part in security at matches. But it's still unclear what that will actually look like for immigrant fans and visitors. Human rights orgs and activists have been pushing for an immigration enforcement truce during World Cup matches. We're here in New York to ask the city, what do you think of ICE presence at World Cup games?
I think why? Why are there ICE agents?
It's an absolute disgrace.
I don't like ICE. I hate ICE.
I don't think a football match is the place for ICE agents to be.
I think it's unnecessary. I'm not a fan of ICE. There's no point in bringing ICE when we are trying to just come together as a community, watch a game, have fun.
Do you feel like ICE's presence at the soccer games is going to make the games more safe?
Definitely not more safe, and I definitely think that the practices of the US government has already increased tension surrounding the World Cup and newly passed policy towards the team of Iran in particular, saying that they're not allowed to reside within the nation on days that aren't match days.
I'm pretty sure they've already detained like players even. It would strike like fear. It would be, everybody's gonna be fearful of coming to the games. There's anxiety, just people are just not gonna be able to have the excitement that they want when they're around.
Between ICE, the hotels being at like 30% projected demand, and ticket prices being so ludicrous, I think the stadiums are going to be pretty disappointingly empty.
As a front of Israel's expanding occupation of Palestine, the West Bank has been overshadowed by the decimation in Gaza. But here's a snapshot of what MEE has reported in just 2 weeks. Last week, a 7-month-old Palestinian baby named Sam was shot and killed by an Israeli soldier in Hebron. His father had stopped the car when signaled, raised his hands, and was shot at immediately. The army says the incident is under review. Soldiers are indicted in less than 1% of wrongdoing complaints, and impunity is not incidental. Israeli settlers attacked a Palestinian Christian village of Taipei, just as a UN report found Israeli state authorities to be directly involved in settler attacks. Settler killings of Palestinians rose 130% in 2025, with attacks now near daily. Another landmark report came from Amnesty on Wednesday. It describes a state-driven ethnic cleansing campaign targeting Bedouin communities in Area C, comprising around 60% of the territory. And the violence is not just military or territorial, it's economic as well. Since October 2023, most Palestinian work permits have been cancelled or suspended. Israeli forces have been ordered to shoot at workers attempting to climb the separation wall. And at the end of May, MEE reported 27-year-old Imad Ishtaya, who was trying to find work after his building collapsed, was shot climbing the separation wall. He died on the operating table. As all of this is happening, an event is coming to London this Sunday. The Great Israeli Real Estate Event openly markets properties in illegal West Bank settlements to international buyers. This despite new anti-settlement sanctions just issued by the UK government, which has declared for the first time there should be no economic involvement in illegal settlements. It's unclear what this means for the Great Israeli Real Estate Event. These stories have all been reported in just the past fortnight, yet they comprise only a handful of happenings in the occupied West Bank. Fortunately, I'm joined today by someone who's on the ground on a near daily basis.
So we got raided by the Israeli army and settlers last night. They stormed the village, they locked us inside the house, they forbade us from coming out and filming and even opening windows. And then dozens of settlers flooded this space, which they claim is the site of an ancient Jewish synagogue. Now, is it a synagogue? First of all, that's beside the point. Even if it were, why are you storming the village in the middle of the night with guns? And if your argument is that Jews are unsafe coming here in any other way, hi, I'm Jewish. Jewish safety is a bullshit excuse Israel uses to colonize Palestinian land.
Andre X is an independent journalist and activist who uses social media, as well as the protection of his Israeli citizenship, to act as the world's window in the occupied West Bank. Andre, welcome to MEE Live. It's great to have you. Now, you just heard me mention this story of the 7-month-old baby who was shot and killed by Israeli soldiers. The Israeli military says it's under review. You're on the ground regularly. Are you surprised and shocked by this incident of violence? And what does it mean in practice when an Israeli military abuse is under review?
Under review is a media term that the Israeli state is using whenever there is too much attention on something, because it allows them to delay acting upon anything. Whenever Israeli soldiers commit war crimes and it gets a lot of attention in international media, the Israeli state says that, oh, we're launching an investigation. Usually these investigations just don't even come to any conclusions. They just fizzle out whenever the attention goes away from the event, and the convictions are extremely, extremely rare. There was the famous case when an entire family was massacred in Tamun in a car in an identical situation. It was just a few months ago. And the result of that was the suspension of the soldiers involved with pay for about a month. So they just got a vacation as punishment for massacring an entire Palestinian family. And this is something that we see all over the West Bank. Of course, the Israeli military is not going to investigate itself. Israel is not going to investigate with any proper procedure their own soldiers and their own settlers, because these attacks against Palestinians are part of the state projects. They are there on behalf of the state, terrorizing the Palestinians and trying to push them away. So of course Israel is not going to investigate itself for doing what it's trying to do.
Now, you don't just report on these incidents of violence, you also cover the day-to-day realities under occupation. I mentioned in the intro there this phenomenon of men looking for work, trying to climb the separation wall, often fatally at the risk of their own life. Can you just talk us through the economic day-to-day realities for Palestinians today living under the occupation?
Yeah, the economy is absolutely destroyed. There is a lot of unemployment. People are barely able to survive. And I've met some people who got shot at as they were trying to climb the wall. And what they said is, we will continue to try, even though we've had our relatives or friends killed, because there is no way to survive otherwise. They have to do something. They're living under this occupation where 60% of the land is practically unavailable to them, and in the rest of it there are constant invasions, and tourist cities like Bethlehem and Ramallah barely get any economy at all, because they're not tourist cities are in a very difficult situation because the tourists are not coming, and there is a deep crisis just with very simple things. And you have the Bedouin communities in Area C that Amnesty made a report about recently, and yes, you have the side that gets into the news with the big attacks and pogroms and people being shot up, but the other side of that is the lack of water access, the fact that Israel is refusing to provide electricity for these communities, even though in theory and in international law it's Israel's responsibility to provide services to these communities. But of course they're completely cut off, and whenever they try to set up their own solar panels, these solar panels get smashed by either the army or the settlers. And it's very difficult. It would be very difficult to survive even if there weren't attacks. And together with attacks, we're seeing mass expulsions of these communities.
Now, the picture you paint is clear that the violence happening by settlers is an extension of the violence being done by the state. There is often an attempt to separate the two when it is covered in international media. But that Amnesty report we were just talking about, it says, and I'm going to quote this line, "What we are witnessing is deliberate state-led annexation in complete violation of international law unfolding before the eyes of the entire world." It's true that the world has witnessed what has been happening in the territory to a new level than it has in the past. And I wonder whether you think the international community is finally beginning to accept this framing, that this is state-perpetuated abuse, or do you think we are still addressing a world refusing to see what's happening?
I mean, what is happening has been fairly obvious, I think, for decades, but the world has been refusing to see that, and continues to a large extent refuse to see that, even though Israeli state actors are openly talking about this. We had, maybe we reported on this a few minutes ago, but Ben Gvir yesterday said that it's good that we're killing people in Lebanon and blowing up their houses, but we should also start kidnapping women and children from there. And it's, they're very openly talking about these things. The settler leaders are very openly talking about the fact that we are supported by the state, we're doing this and this, we are destroying the Arab households and taking over the land, and this is what God told us to do. They're very open about it. But of course there's also this layer of plausible deniability that whenever there is too much pressure on the settlers for the crimes that they commit from the outside, Israel is able to take a step back, and Netanyahu is able to say, oh, it's just 70 kids who are running around and doing whatever they're doing. Mm-hmm. And this is very useful for them. This is you saw the same kind of thing in Europe in the early 20th century with fascist movements employing brown shirts, which were civilian groups of thugs who would act on behalf of the fascist party or on behalf of the government, but they are technically civilians and they're not part of any official militia, so the government always has plausible deniability. It's like, oh, this is not us, whenever it blows up. And whenever it doesn't blow up, they're just doing very much directly what the government wants, directly supported by the government, invading together with the army and shooting up Palestinian villages together with the army.
But at the same time as we see this apparent separation, Netanyahu spoke out about Ben Gvir lately, saying, oh, he doesn't represent the state. Well, he is a leader of the state. At the same time as we see that, we now see events like this real estate event coming to London, trying to recruit international civilians to buy properties in illegally occupied Palestinian territory. That's actively bringing foreign buyers, or I suppose what Israel would call diaspora buyers, into these settlement projects. Why is Israel doing that?
Because Israel is very much reliant on the outside in many different ways for its ethnic cleansing of the West Bank and for its genocide in Gaza and for the apartheid that it has created in the land between the river and the sea and all of it. It absolutely requires economic injections, political support, social support, and just demographics. And these land sales of places in the West Bank within settlements, they likely won't be selling you the land that is, right next to a Palestinian community within, like newly occupied by a settler outpost, but they will be selling houses in large settlements like Ariel and Ma'ale Adumim, which are big. They're essentially cities in the West Bank, and that immediately gives you a cash injection because you are selling the property and you are able to use that to develop further, and potentially you get people coming in, and you're increasing the demographic majority in the West Bank, and this is very important for them. This is what they're trying to fight for. They're trying to swing the scales of demographics in the West Bank.
Can I ask you a personal question here? Because you yourself took up the opportunity of Israeli citizenship as your Jewish heritage grants you legally a right of reply that Palestinians don't have under the law. Mm-hmm. And I wonder, when you see events like this, real estate events recruiting international civilians to participate in this settlement project, does it remind you of that moment that you realized you were a participant in something? And I guess, what would you say to people who are considering this, real estate opportunity that is presented to them as a great opportunity for them to, take up?
I remember at the beginning when I just got my passport and when I just moved. To me, the process of moving from one place to another seemed like a very neutral thing. Like, I used to live here, now I live here. Maybe tomorrow I'm going to go to the next place. And it took a while, it took some time and talking to people and seeing what's happening to realize that that's not a neutral action at all. Just my mere presence in that land and the process of me getting a passport, me renting an apartment, me participating in the economy it's an act, and it's a very serious act that the whole country, and it's apartheid, and it's 100 years old project of ethnic cleansing is reliant on this. It's reliant not just on these few kids who are running around and attacking Palestinians, not just on the army that goes mans the checkpoints and harasses people out of villages, but it is reliant on people who are technically not participating. You can live in Tel Aviv, moreover, you can live in Ma'ale Adumim in the middle of the West Bank and not even see, like, you can completely separate yourself from it and pretend that you're not part of it. But Israel is able to continue its ethnic cleansing of the West Bank and the apartheid system thanks to people who are just going in and living their life, not interacting with anything. Without them, the project wouldn't exist.
Well, that's all we have time for, but I have to just say, journalist to journalist, you're doing a fantastic job, and it's been a real pleasure getting to interview you today.
Likewise, thank you for having me.
And to all of you watching, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be here, as you know, Tuesday and Thursday, and thank you for all your patience with our technical issues. Like, subscribe, make sure you're following us on social media at Middle East Eye. You can email meelive@middleeasteye.net. I'll be here 5 p.m. on Tuesday, noon if you're in New York. See you then.